Welcome to Raith TV. You're a familiar face to probably everybody in the main stand and the south stand, but I think the enigma that follows you is, who's that guy and what does he do? Give us an introduction.
Well, I'm Blair Doughty. I'm the head of sports science here at Raith Rovers. My job, in the simplest terms, is to make sure the players are fit enough to be able to withstand the 90 minutes plus on a Saturday, which is obviously our most important day. But within that, there's lots of other roles. So, for example, how do we train in terms of the training schedule? What days are we training? Fitness conditioning, so making sure the players are topped up. So at the moment, it's my biggest period of time during pre-season. So we're going through a volume of work to make sure we're ready to go for the start of the season, or the League Cup campaign, which is coming around not too distant future.
Tell us about pre-season in particular. We've got this notion in our head as supporters of the good old days of running up sandbanks and along beaches and such like, but modern managers tell us that players go away with routines. They often do more than they're expected to, and generally speaking they come back in good health.
Well, it's really important that players get there's such a quick turnaround these days in terms of games, so it's really important that players do get at least a minimum of 2 weeks off just to rejuvenate themselves. But they do get a close season programme away with them. It's about 4 weeks in duration. It's about a 12-page document these guys get sent, and it ranges from running, strength and conditioning in the gym, to nutrition to make sure that they're looking after themselves when they're away. So they do come back, and the famous quote is they do come back in good nick, and thankfully my players do, and they're professional about it. But the volume and work we go through is making sure that we're high volume and low intensity to start off with, and then we go to another range which is high intensity, low volume when we get into our competitive time. The pre-season kind of looks like a lot of running to get them up to speed. It involves aerobic based conditioning, which is a lot of oxygen getting used to use that, and longer periods, long durations. To hit sessions, so high intensity interval sessions that we use, and we use that during the season as well. So yeah, that's how a kind of pre-season look. We do gym work on top of that as well. So make sure the boys are nice and strong and robust. Now, don't get me wrong, we'll never be able to take away injuries completely, and some people I know do say, oh well, we've got all this stuff and they've got this person working there, why do we still get injuries? Well, unfortunately we're taking them to the limit of these guys, what they can do. We want to improve performance, not just stop it completely when it goes into that red zone. So we go down the gym, make sure they're nice and strong down the gym, and also recovery sessions as well. So making sure both we can work during the day, but we'll also recover and be able to go again the next time. So it's a lot of facets that kind of get weighed around, and it's making sure I can bring each bit in at a time when it's needed to be used. So a lot going on during pre-season.
Absolutely, and I think kind of day to day and week to week, there's obviously a huge adaptation, because we've got midweek games, we've got players at different kind of parts of their kind of energy curve, if you like. What does an ordinary week's training look like if we're saying that there's a Saturday and a Saturday game for supporters who are looking in? Because again, one of the myths, you're going to know what I'm going to say here, but is the notion of, well, they only train 2 hours a day, they're away, could they not be doing X, Y and Z? Plot us through what an ordinary week's like as they recover, regenerate, get themselves up to pace, and then taper for a game on a Saturday.
So we here, one of the big things we use is what's called a British Standard model for our fancy term, and the scientific term periodisation. All that means is just a plan through the week. We use a British model, so the players will train Monday, Tuesday, they'll be off on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, building up for that game on Saturday. So just to strip it right back down again, so after a game, players can take up to 72 hours to completely recover from a 90-minute game. So they'll have the Sunday off, they'll come in the Monday. Tuesday's our biggest work day. It's when we get our most work done in for that day. Wednesday's a day off. Tuesday's obviously our biggest day, so we want to make sure we're overloading the players, so that physically they're overloaded, so we can get an adaptation out of them. So we've got to allow them to recover on the Wednesday, so they'll go in Wednesday, have a recovery at the house, whatever they want to go out for a coffee or whatever they do these days, and then Thursday they'll come back in, we'll work again, and then on Friday it's just a shape day. That's pretty much very, very simple in terms of that. And then we're also into the most important day of the week, which is a Saturday. So Saturday I'll take the main part of the warm-up, and make sure that these guys are kind of ready to go, switched on. They'll have their GPS units throughout the week as well, so I'm analysing GPS throughout that week. So GPS is just a very fancy bit of kit that tells me have they actually achieved what we thought they were achieving. So it's not to prevent injury. That's a common myth that some people think. Don't get me wrong, we can see the build up in terms of have we not gone 0 to 100, have we built them in gently? Well, yes. But also have we achieved the aims of that session? So for example, if it's Tuesday, a lot of accel decels on that day, or Thursday, bigger areas, high speed, max velocity work. So yeah, that's kind of a week.
A synopsis of a week in the life of not only yourself but a football player. You're saying about the British Standard. I'm checking that we're not giving away the trade secrets here. Is this a kind of pattern that most clubs will work to, obviously with their own kind of there's twist on it? Yeah,
there's definitely different models. British Standard is what some people might view as old school. Tactical periodisation might be one people I've heard of. Jose Mourinho kind of brought that into play quite predominantly, and that's just a slightly different in terms of your day off and how you're working and looking at that. So, but it's really important that we kind of get the right one that fits our model. There's no with sports science and there's no right or wrong answer. There's just a different answer. It's really what works for that individual club and that individual team.
Talk to me about injuries in terms of the role that you've got with minimising injuries, managing, getting players back to fitness. And can you tell us a wee bit about, we can hear the noise in the background of the players out training on the surface. How advantageous is it to actually be playing here at Starks Park through the week?
Yeah, no, it's great. It means you're not having to drive down to a facility, which I've done at a previous club before, and come back up and then go to the gym, and it makes it nice and convenient in terms of that. In terms of reducing the injuries, so we're trying to hit certain things. So hamstrings is obviously a massive part of the boys' work. So we do Nordic curls exercise, which is really shown to prevent injury. Copenhagen's for the adductors, so your groin muscles is pretty much what that means, and doing them X amount of times a week. It's liaising with the physio to make sure that so-and-so's feeling a wee bit tight today, maybe keep an eye on him, and having that multidisciplinary approach, so not just myself but the whole backroom staff, but making sure that, again, we're using that GPS data before. It's not, what high workload is not the be all and end all. It's just how you get to that, so it's just keeping an eye on that. Have we achieved certain aims for each session of the week? So different days will have different aims, and it's ticking those boxes off each week. And then for those guys that are injured, coming back in, I'll take them for a end stage rehab, so making sure they're fit, but also they can cope with the demands we're going to ask for them when they come back into train. So one of them at the moment is Kieran Mitchell I'm working with now, so it's just making sure that he can accel decel to the volume that we're looking for. He's got enough high speed running to tick off, and then he's also sprinted as well, so just ticking off those boxes to allow him to then return into training.
Gives him the best chance of actually making an impact when he comes back, and minimises the likeliness of breakdown.
Yeah, definitely, exactly. It's really important that we don't just chuck them straight back in again, and if there is a knockback, which we're all human, it does happen now and again, that we can understand why and then move forward. So usually when the guys come back in, they're up and running, and to make sure they're available for selection for the manager, which is obviously the most important thing. It's making sure he has enough players available for long enough during the season. So which has been shown that most clubs that do have that are usually quite competitive.
What excites you most about this season? We're just on the edge of competitive games, a couple of friendlies to go. We're speaking kind of pre the Kelty Hearts game. Probably the interview will sit for a few days because there's so much happening at the club, isn't there? What excites you most?
Just, it's another season, isn't it? I've been working on a good few years now, even though my young age that have worked, season 7 or 8 now, I've been working in professional football, and it's just that last season's gone, everybody starts on 0 points, and you've got all those points to make up now, and you don't know where you could go or what could happen. Hopefully a positive and a good season like everybody's looking for now, and it's really about, can we do the best we can, and fingers crossed that's the case.
You always strike me as someone who's really enthused by the fact that you're here at Raith Rovers.
Yeah.
Is it a particularly enjoyable time in your career just now?
Yeah, working with players, it's always a big joy of mine. I'm very lucky every day to come into my work and stand outside if it's scorching heat, which it has been at the start of pre-season, or if it's been snowing, you know, in the winter. But it's great to be able to develop people as well. It's not just about getting players to run, and they might not like me for that, but we develop both people as well with that, especially younger players when they're coming through, which I've had great joy of doing at different teams, and even some of the players that I've worked with before now playing for the Scottish national team, you know. So coming into work every day is definitely a joy anyway.
What about how your role dovetails? We're speaking with Bill Orr in terms of the match analysis structure and how we've maybe been trying our best to keep a pace, but I love the line that he said where we want to be best in class. How does your role dovetail there? How can you benefit each other?
Obviously there's a lot of data and a lot of data streams coming in, and that's obviously one of the areas that the new kind of consortium is looking to exploit, and it's for the last good few years now it's been a big area in football. And my biggest thing is that we're not data driven, but we're data informed. So we're not just taking the absolute, but we are looking at it into context, and that's, for me, that's a big point. But Bill hopefully will complement that with the sign of a data scientist that might be coming in, and maybe help use those numbers a bit more efficiently and making them look a bit nicer. Maybe I like this the big square spreadsheet that tells me what I need to look for, and I can read it. But maybe getting it presented a wee bit better might be a help. But look, we're all trying to make sure that Raith Rovers are the best in the league at everything that we do, and that's obviously hopefully complement me in terms of my work.
The best in the league at everything we do. I don't think we can top that as a finishing statement, can we? You're setting big targets, and that's exactly what we want to hear. Blair, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, appreciate it.